Greetings everyone, Sishtabra here. I decided to review about an old movie. It's actually a Pinocchio, but not as the Disney one. This was actually called Pinocchio, the Emperor of the Night. It was made 1987. I used to watch this movie when I was much younger, and this movie came out years before I was born. And I don't know if this movie is considered as canon, since this is another part of since since this movie takes a year later after the Good Fairy turned Pinocchio to human. But since I said I don't even know if this movie is considered as canon or non-canon. But this movie itself was very unusually different from the original from Disney from the 1940s. I was very much enjoyed to watch this movie, and even if there was more, how would I put it, unusually, a little bit more darker part of it is later on in the movie, rather from the first one. I have seen this movie a few times over and over for the last few years, and I didn't consider to make a review about this until recent. But I thought that this video was going to be, well, like I said, unusually, since this is another type of Pinocchio the movie. Many of you will maybe never heard about it, but if some of my viewers have heard about it and have seen it, you might even enjoy it sometimes over and over. But I can tell that this movie were not as the first one. More different, since Pinocchio has enjoyed a whole year as real boy rather from a puppet. And then one day a mysterious ship arrives nearby, and like a circus tent is putting up itself, or like with magic, nothing else. I can't even not even describe how I felt when I saw this movie for the first time. It was beyond any of my even expectation. When I grew up watching the first Pinocchio movie from 1940 by the Disney, that one was very much touched my heart. It's very much part of my childhood. But this movie is not at the same, with new type of characters, a villain. Well, I can say this movie is not what I didn't expect to see. And if many of my fans or viewers have never even heard about this movie, perhaps you might seen it to look at it, but I'm not so sure if this is a child-proof video or a movie, for example. But I would recommend, if any of my younger viewers wanted to see this movie, I prefer you have a parent or an older sibling with you. This movie can be very much part scary, not as much blood or something, but more could be a little bit scarier, since the title says Emperor of the Night. I can describe him as like a phantom ghost type character, but very mean. And there are other two characters like a big thief, like those two fox in the original one, but this one is a raccoon and a monkey. But I don't even think that they are two like villains or something. in the end of the movie, this seems to have been reformed. But most of the time I don't even understand how this movie could be considered as canon or non-canon. I can't even tell. For most of my time and has seen this movie back and forward over years, I still enjoy it. But much of it is not what I expect to see from the first Pinocchio movie. No. Most of the stories of this movie was more considered unusual ones. Since in this movie the God Fairy has no more speaking parts or even more considered as a small minor part role in it. But it also part of it. Since Pinocchio was told one of the other characters in the movie that if someone gave up his free will to the Emperor of the Night, the good fairy loses her powers. She gets weaker. And if Pinocchio had given up his free will and turned about his from a human to a puppet again, the God Fairy would likely have been much, much weaker, and the Emperor of the Night much stronger. And even from the original movie, Benjamin Cricket, or Jimmy Cricket, he's a cricket, but he's also a whale cricket. But in this movie, it seems that he is like a woman made from Geppetto himself. So, and from that point of view, I don't think this is even considered as in canon of the Disney ones, since this movie is not made by the Disney. But many parts of this video, of this movie itself, was more, well, they were not exactly any direct confirmation from mentioning from the first movie itself from this one. Except that it has been a year since what have been turned into human. But since none of that, nothing. But in this movie, Pinocchio falls in love. In particular, a girl puppet. Her name is Twinkle. It turns out she was a human, and she had given up her free will and turned into a puppet by the Emperor of the Night. What is going on would happen if anyone gives up their free will and suddenly Emperor of the Night gets stronger and the fairy god weaker? What happens if the Emperor of the Night had get more strength for every time that anyone give up their free will? Would he have been like so strong enough, so powerful to even consider to world domination or something? I don't know. Since they were originally planned for a sequel to the original Pinocchio 1940, but that movie was cancelled. So if anyone still considered this as the sequel of the original ones, well, I have no idea, since that would probably be at least 47 years later. But still, I can't even say if Disney or any other of those people who made this as considered as a canon. But in this movie, Geppetto is still a doll puppet maker, but also making some sort of music box. But in this movie, there are another puppeteer like Geppetto itself, but the evil part. He serves the Emperor of the Night. By the end of this movie, since the Emperor of the Night is defeated by Pinocchio, The evil puppeteer is turned himself into a puppet by the Emperor of the Night. So, what is going on to what happened later in this movie? Well, since Pinocchio is willing to sacrifice his own life to save his father and his two friends and Twinkle from the Emperor of the Night, he actually sacrificed, but in the end of the movie, he actually turned back into a real boy, and the Emperor of the Night is gone forever. And his father is back to normal size since the Emperor of the Night has captured him and shrunk him to almost like doll size. And even then, Twinkle is back as normal. She is back to be a human being again. So what would I consider of this movie itself? Well, usually I don't even see if this as a canon or non-canon, but from my point of view, I consider Pinocchio, the Emperor of the Night, non-canon, since there had not been any mention of what happened in the first original movie in this one. So, I consider this as non-canon. And would I recommend anyone to watch to see this movie? Yes, I would. But only if you had company, if a parent or an older sibling. Not for this, I would never recommend this movie to younger children. No. It might give you nightmares. It would. So, if any one of my younger viewers listen to this review, please don't watch this movie alone. Do it with your parents or an older sibling or perhaps an older friend. But never alone if you're easy to get scared or have easy to get nightmares. It might give you some nightmares, and I don't want to have anyone to have nightmares on my conscience. No. So I recommend anyone to see this movie, but have an older company with you. If you're old enough to see this movie, then you can. But if you have an older or younger sibling, please watch this movie with them. I don't want them to have nightmares or even be scared. So what would I give this movie as a rating? Well, probably a B minus at the most. It was not like in the first movie. It was, well, good enough. And as always, subscribe, leave a comment, and as always, this is Swedish Diablo over and out.